Welcome to The Big Question, the series from Euronews where we analyse some of the biggest topics on the business agenda. Now, in this episode, we're welcoming Professor Olivier Sibony of HEC Paris to discuss noise, bias, and how we can stop ourselves from making bad decisions. So, Olivier, welcome. Thanks so much for joining us.
Thanks for having me.
So, one of the big points of your research is noise. Can you actually explain to us what that is? Because if I'm not mistaken, we're not just talking about sound, are we?
No, we're not. We're talking about noise in judgments. And what we mean by noise is simply the variability of those judgments. The fact that those judgments can kind of randomly be very different from one person to the next, and even from one moment to the next in the same person.
What is the noise that can cause bias when we're interviewing candidates, and how can people make sure that they choose the best candidate and block out all the noise?
First, structure your judgments. So everybody will tell you they have a job description, but very few people have actually given a lot of thought to their job description, have actually asked, what do we really value? How much weight do we give to these various attributes? If you want people who are really smart, don't evaluate whether they are really smart by interviewing them. It's not a great way. Give them a test of cognitive ability, right? And that will be an independent source of information that helps you to structure a decision along many different dimensions, because when you're then interviewing them, you can test for other things. Second idea, if people are different in their judgments, if different people are going to have different opinions about the same candidates, that is noise. Leverage it. Make it your friend instead of letting it be your enemy. And the way to do this is to have multiple people evaluate the same candidate. Now, of course, you will say, oh, but we do that, right? We have 2 or 3 people meeting the same candidate, and then we get together and we talk about the candidate and we make a joint decision. And you think that solves the problem. Wrong. It makes it worse. It actually makes it much worse. Why is that? Because when you talk about the candidate, you introduce bias. You introduce a group bias. You introduce the tendency of people to want to agree with the boss, the tendency of people to want to agree with one another. The way to leverage the collective intelligence of the people who are making that decision is to make sure that before you start talking about the candidate, you make sure that each of them writes down their opinion about the candidate, and that you have evaluated the candidate on all those dimensions before you start discussing your judgment with your colleagues.